Exploration Hero episode 4, and I'm interested to see on how this video does because last week was episode number 3 for this show, and episode 3 transitioning into this week is usually where a lot of people fall off. They made a decision last week. Am I going to keep watching it? Am I not going to keep watching it? So I'm interested to see on what your thoughts are overall on the show. So holler out in the comments how you're feeling about this show and why you're still watching, because I assume if you're on episode 4, you're past that 3, you know, that normal 3-episode rule. So you must have saw something in here that's like, yes, this is why I want to watch it. Now, for me, I really like the cute Valkyrie girl. I really like the cute demon girl, the devil girl. You know, I really like both of them quite a bit. Now, one of the things, though, that has been bothering me about the show is, well, I guess, you know, there's 2 major things. And I'm going to say them now, and then I'm going to go into the positive sandwich. I'm going to go into, you know, the overall feelings of this episode, because I genuinely did like this episode. I thought it was a pretty good episode of Exploration Hero. Overall, overall, though, the show is batting an average of like 6.5, about 6.57 out of 10 on a best day. So I would say the show's about a 6.5 out of 10, but enjoyability, I've been mostly enjoying like 7.5 out of 10, like enjoyability factor. It just means like, hey, I'm entertained and I'm not pausing the show. I'm just watching it and I'm enjoying it. And I don't think it's a waste of time. So I think that's a big boon for the show. But the 2 major kind of qualms or nitpicks or things that I have about the show is, one, they haven't explained at all the difference between in or out of the dungeon. So this episode, you know, our MC, our main character here, you know, he goes in and we see that Kaito's in the dungeon. And when he's in the dungeon, he seems to have like, what would you call it? Like a HoloLens type deal, like if he was wearing like a helmet or something, he could basically see like his statistics and damage, and he could see a lot of information. Basically, like if he was in like a VR game type deal, okay? Now, what they haven't explained is like, is that just a natural ability? Is that something you're only granted when you're inside of the dungeon? Do you go from reality to virtual reality? But it can't be that, because he also gets injured. He bled here. So it can't be virtual reality. So I think my main issue is like the abilities you get and learn in the dungeon, can you use them in the outside world? And if the answer is yes, that seems crazy to me. And if the answer is no, why? What is it when you pass that dungeon barrier that's something like, you know, it gets like, you know, like you suddenly power up or something? Like, what is the metaphysical, scientific, what's the science behind that? And then the other part of it is like, well, it can't be that, because you're able to take items and gems and materials from the dungeon out. So does that also mean that his summons that he summons in the dungeon, can he take those girls out? Could they just walk out with him? You know, so there's so many questions that I have. And the show mostly goes, let's just keep moving forward. Don't worry about like, you don't need to worry about the specifics. Just enjoy the story. You want to see some panties? You know, it's kind of one of those things to where it's like, you know, you want to see sexy slime? Don't worry about the other stuff, you know? So that's kind of one of my main kind of gripes and concerns, is like just not a good explanation of how powers work, how leveling up works, how can you see like this, how can you see all the information, and can you just see that all the time? Is it like, do you just, you just like hit your head, it turns on and off? How does all of that work? And you might say, well, Dom, we're not far enough into the show. It's like, but we're 4 episodes in. Like, don't you kind of feel like, so this show, okay, here's the thing, right? This show is scheduled for 11, not 12, not 13, 11 episodes. So we are just like an episode and a half away from being halfway through the season. So if I said, hey, we're almost halfway through a season, don't you feel like you would deserve to know some of those nuances of the show already? Even if they just spent 5, you know, this episode had the audacity and the balls to start off with his water ball, go to the OP, which they could skip, and then go back and repeat the same water ball scene again. And then it also repeated a memory from a scene that we already saw in the show with his best friend's dad or whatever. So it's like it's repeating. So it wasted about 3 or 4 minutes. In those 3-4 minutes, they could explain what the hell's going on. So that's a big kind of like gripe for me. The second gripe is this ongoing comedic thing with him and his girlfriend or best friend or childhood friend, future wife, whatever you call it. This girl, you know, he doesn't want to tell her that he is going and exploring the dungeon. They haven't explained why. You can assume dad was a hero. Her dad was a hero. Her dad was one of the first. You can assume that he got probably majorly injured. He probably has PTSD of the dungeons. And he's probably afraid that if he mentions he's going to the dungeon, that she's going to get extremely angry at him because of what happened to her dad. She doesn't want it to happen to him. I assume that that's the case, but they haven't fucking said it. And it drives me crazy because it's just this ongoing thing. It's like, I'm over it already. He's like, I'm going to go to the dance party. Like, I don't find it funny. I'm sorry. I just don't. It doesn't hit my sense of humor. I can't really see anyone finding it funny. And if you do, explain to me why. I would love to know, but I just don't see it. Like, it just isn't funny. It's annoying. So that's my second gripe. Okay, positive stuff here. The two girls, they went in, and our devil girl, she went in and she leveled up to level 2 after they defeated the ogre and after they defeated the big slime. They also discovered a hidden dungeon, and by defeating the ogre, he also got a really rare gem, which is going to give him some type of payday. They didn't really say what his payday was, but he's going to get some kind of payday. So that's good. Again, I'm pissed it didn't tell us what. But regardless, Lucilia, the devil girl, and Sylphie, they're both now level 2. And then the secondary thing is he met a party with this girl named Irie, and I don't remember the other girls' names, but he met a party coming out of a dungeon about these hottie McTotties. And through the nature of the universe and the anime gods, he's able to party up with these hottie McTotties to go in and participate in this event. And that's what we're going to get next week. And next episode is him participating in this level 7 event with these hottie McTotties. And I think that is going to be some fun stuff as it introduces more human characters. And we assume he's going to actually have to reveal the fact that he has summons with him as well when he partners with these 3 girls next week to hopefully win the event. So all that is positive stuff. I also like that he got more control over his water ball. He was able to turn it into ice. He was able to change it into like an ice spear type deal. And I really, I thought that was a really cool thing for his growth. He's now level 15, so he's, mid-level. He's doing all right for himself now compared to what he was before. And again, just mentioning the 2 girls, they got their growth as well too. So I enjoyed all of that. And then, last thing I'll say is it's keeping me entertained. And, even though I do have some gripes and concerns with it, it's not like show ruining for me. Like, it's not, how do you say it? It's not going to deter me from watching the show. It's just one of those things that by the end of the season, if these questions that I have, and there's been a few anime that just said, but by the end of the season, if it decides to not answer some of these questions, that just takes it down a full point for me. So if I end up, at the end of the season, I'm like, this is a 6 out of 10. It's a 5. If it's a 7, it's a 6. If it's an 8, it's a 7. So however I feel by the end of the season, if it didn't do a good job of answering all these questions that it seemingly brings up and just goes, don't worry about it, then it just takes it a full basis point down for me from all levels. So we'll see on if it ends up being good or not good. All right, friends. I'm going to see you guys next week. Peace.